I'll start by saying this morning we're disappointed with the vote results from yesterday. But even more so, I know that this is disappointing for students, families, and teachers who are looking for predictability and stability when it comes to education. But now we must find a new path forward. A clear path forward is what's best for Saskatchewan students, especially those students who are graduating this year. That path forward is binding arbitration, and we are prepared to resume discussions with the Saskatchewan Teachers Federation immediately to define and move forward with binding arbitration so that we can all get an agreement done. Binding arbitration will provide clarity and certainty for parents, students, and teachers that there will be no further job action this school year, and that end-of-year field trips, exams, and graduation can go ahead as planned. This morning, the Government Trustee Bargaining Committee will be reaching out to the Teachers Bargaining Committee with that offer and hope to move to binding arbitration as soon as possible. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer questions at this time.
Yes, Minister Cockrill, what will happen if this situation is not sorted out by election time?
Well, certainly what we have, based on the vote results from yesterday and what we've put out forward, what the Premier talked about on the radio early this morning, what I'm here to talk about today is a clear path forward. Path forward that will preserve instructional time for our students, preserve activities that are important to students and families. I think everybody in the situation wants to get an agreement done. We've spent time at the bargaining table now. We had 2 tentative agreements. This last tentative agreement was endorsed by the Saskatchewan Teachers Federation leadership. I'd say we made progress in both of those rounds of bargaining to come to those tentative agreements. I think where we're at now, though, is we need to provide clarity for students and families in this province. And so that's why we're suggesting binding arbitration. That's why we're putting binding arbitration forward as the path forward.
And when will you be back at the negotiating table?
Well, as I said, the Government Trustee Bargaining Committee will be contacting the Teachers Bargaining Committee this morning, if that hasn't happened already, and putting forward our offer to move to binding arbitration, and hopefully we can pick those discussions up as soon as possible.
Teachers were asking for binding arbitration. They've been asking for it for months now. So is this like a last-ditch effort now, or how are you feeling about that? Well, why not before?
Well, if we go back to my response to that at that time, I was clear at that time that I didn't feel like we had spent enough time actually bargaining at that time to go to binding arbitration. And obviously we feel that the best deals do happen at the bargaining table. We came to a tentative agreement that was agreed upon by both sides. I think both sides left the table a few weeks ago comfortable with the agreement that we had come to. The STF leadership endorsed and recommended that tentative agreement to their membership. Obviously, that agreement lost in a close vote over the last couple days. So given the fact that we've been at the bargaining table, we've made progress there, what we're hearing from the people of this province is they want clarity going forward, and I think binding arbitration presents the best opportunity for that going forward.
So what do you say to teachers who have clearly told both the STF and the provincial government this time, this is not acceptable, what you got, the agreement that you came to?
Well, I mean, obviously the vote was a no to the deal, but it was quite a close vote if you look at it, right? I mean, 55 to 45%, and so I think there's, and again, we've been working closely as the Government Trustee Bargaining Committee with the Teachers Bargaining Committee over the last, we spent, I'd say, a really solid week earlier in May together in Regina at the bargaining table. I think made some significant progress. And now going forward, we're getting close to the end of the school year. Some graduations have already happened. There's more graduations happening, I know, even today and this weekend, and we want to make sure that those happen as normal. Students are looking forward to those. Families are looking forward to those. Teachers are looking forward to those and finishing off the school year well with those students that are graduating and those students that will be returning to school next year, obviously. So, we think that binding arbitration is the best path forward now to make sure that we can provide clarity for everyone, including teachers.
Teachers have been very vocal about having something in the contract about classroom complexity. Are you open to that this time around?
Well, I think, as I said, the tentative agreement that we came to several weeks ago, we had the MOU as an appendix in the contract. We made an additional commitment to add more dollars for classroom supports. Both sides on the bargaining committees left the bargaining table comfortable with where we were at. And so, as I said, I think good progress was made several weeks ago. And again, I'm hoping that government's willing to take this to binding arbitration so that we can have a fair process to get to an agreement. And again, really at the end of the day, provide clarity and stability for our students.
Minister, it's my understanding that if an election were dropped, the bargaining negotiations would have to pause during the campaign period. Is that also true of arbitration meetings?
I know certainly during the writ period, bargaining does have to be paused during a writ period. I don't have the details on that. Obviously, binding arbitration is kind of a process outside of traditional bargaining. So, the details on that would have to be worked out between the two bargaining committees. But we're hoping to, I would say, get that process started as soon as possible here in the spring so that we can provide clarity for the rest of this school year and for school years going forward.
Who do you go to for binding arbitration? How does that process work?
Yeah.
Is there a company or?
So, the Government Trustee Bargaining Committee appoints a member, the Teachers Bargaining Committee appoints a member of the Arbitration Board, and then we work together to find a mutually agreeable chair of that Arbitration Board, and then both sides present their case, if you will, and then that body goes through all the facts and determines a path forward. And so, where we're at now, given the fact that, as I said, we made progress at the bargaining table, I think this is the best path forward to get an agreement.
Would, some kids are graduating, some will return to school next year. What will happen for them? Like, will they go to school this summer? What's the issue here?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there was some concern that instructional time has been affected this school year, and I'd say in certain divisions it has. Right? There's no doubt about that. There's been instructional hours have been affected in several divisions around the province. Again, we want to work collaboratively with our school divisions, and I know school divisions are working with their local teachers to make sure that students receive the education that they're intended to receive this year. Again, I come back to this is all about clarity. This is all about clarity and providing stability and predictability for parents, for students, for teachers at the end of this school year and next school year. Nobody wants to go to summer school, right? I mean, we want to enjoy our beautiful summers here in Saskatchewan. So I think the sooner that we can move forward with the binding arbitration process, I think that preserves the rest of this school year and sets us up well for future school years as well.
Just
Excellent.
one clarification, it doesn't have to be a clip or anything, but just when can you not negotiate during the campaign period? Like, when does that start and end?
My understanding is the writ period,
What is that?
when the writ's dropped. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you.